now officially starting my first live stream. The intention of this live stream, it's more like a test to see if you guys will like the content that I will create here. The intention of this live stream is to execute a live recon together, analyzing a target and understanding what possible vulnerabilities we can attack here in this scenario. And of course, because we're talking about hacking, I can't go further in my exploitations, but I can tell you tips of what can you do while you face this kind of problem, or what would I do in the scenarios and things like that. So let's start. I selected GitHub for us to use as a first start of us here. Let me open here the screen. I can share with you what I'm thinking. Okay, so this is the target I'm thinking of. We test today. It's GitHub. GitHub has a huge amount of scopes of URLs in scope, so we can test. And as you can see, for example, it has a github.com wildcard, a githubassets.com, a GitHub user content, GitHub app, GitHub webhooks, github.net, npm.js, npmjs.org. So multiple targets for us to explore. And that's what that's what I'm thinking about testing today. So what do you think? Anyone has ever hacked on GitHub before? Tried hacking on GitHub? Okay, so let's just start. I'm opening here my terminal. Let me switch in this other screen. Nice. Here I'm in my VPS. So let me open here my Recon data. This is the folder where I put the data of the targets that I'm testing. Let's create another GitHub here. Alright. So the first thing I need to do, that I usually do, is to enumerate the wildcards. As I said, GitHub has many wildcards so that we can use for testing. So let me create a wildcards file here and put some of my targets. github.com, githubassets.com, GitHub user content, GitHub app, web.net, npm.com, and npmjs.org. So actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 targets so we can test. The first thing I like to do while testing this kind of things is to run a subfinder. Subfinder, if anyone does not know, it's a tool for fast subdomain enumerations. It searches in many places. In many places, let me see here what is the places that it searches. But basically, tests many subdomains that we can possibly be live or not. It looks for DNS enumerations, but just because a subdomain exists does not mean that the subdomain is live or has something that we can hack on there. So let's try. I like running subfinder here exactly with this command. It's already here actually. It's a subfinder domain list. Is -dl here is to pass my domain list. I'm passing my wildcards file. -all. This -all is to subfinder to look into all sources. See here on the document. All sources for enumerations. It's a bit slow, but not something that will makes our test here be too slow. It will be it will run in a normal time, in a regular time. And in the final, I like to add the output of my file to be in my subfinder.txt file here. So let's run this. Now, where it's running, it can be it can take a while, but while it's running, we can take a look into other things. Let's take a look, for example, in some Google Dorking, take a look into some possible targets. Cool. I think for the sake of this example, I would not like to look directly into github.com, at least not right now. I believe it will be better if we take a look in some more secondary examples, more certain secondary domains like githubwebhooks.net or github.net, because github.com will give us multiple results that we do not want to take a look right now. For example, it will give for me here multiple repositories that I third-party repositories, not from GitHub itself, but the repositories that other users is hosting on GitHub. Maybe we can bypass it some way here, like extra filtrating the something from the URL here, but I don't think it's worth the headache right now. So let's take a look at github.net first. Nothing on github.net on Google. That's interesting. Maybe Subfinder will give us our satisfactory. Let's take a look at githubwebhooks.net. No results at all. Maybe github.app.com. Now we're getting some results here. Now it's better. So as you can see, we have some proprietary things here like the machine learning ops. That's a good site, but that's not what I'm looking at the moment. I would rather look for something strange that has a strange domain. For example, customer stories can be one example. Just like staging, it appears that a staging environment for some application here. Or classroom webhooks staging.github.app. I think this is a good example of something that may be weird, worth taking a look. I know that, yeah, it's saying here it's GitHub Classroom, but I know this is some kind of version of the classroom.github.com. The same, but maybe this is a staging feature, a staging environment. Make me wonder if maybe the login will execute by logging for one account of mine, like this one. The account I have for testing. F. That's interesting. When I log in, it asks for me to go to a SSO page, a Yocta SSO, and it gives me another domain here that is classroom staging. It's not the same domain that we found here. We found here the classroom webhooks staging. It seems like this is a different tool, a different environment at least. Maybe we'll have a look, and source map is enabled here, so look. Does not appear so. All the JavaScript is, and there's not even JavaScript files here. SVG. Okay, okay. Okay. Oh, my sub-founder has already finished it here, but this is interesting. This is interesting. So this is a place that maybe I would take a look if it's a real bug bounty that I'm doing here. This is probably a place that I would rather take a look, because it appears that has some kind of different functionality from the main application. And as you can see, when we execute and signing a login into the application, it is clearly asking us to log in into a Okta, a Okta SSO. So, and another weird thing is that Classroom, what's the role? Classroom staging.github.app. It's clearly protected by the SSO, but Classroom webhooks staging is not protected by SSO. This is probably a takeaway. So Dark uses other interesting. The user stories here. 5 doesn't appear that has anything that we can look here. Black staging, it's another staging environment that's hosted on this GitHub app. Probably replica of the slack.github.com. Another staging environment. The good things about these staging environments is because staging environments can have some misconfigurations that the production environment has not. Many times I looked into a staging environment, I discovered like source maps enabled, source maps. I have a video about source maps here that, if you don't know what it is basically a map that translates the minified JavaScript into a readable JavaScript. And many times the staging environment can have this kind of misconfiguration that will help us to better debug the code, understand what is happening behind the code. So, but it does not appear to the case here. Hey, what's your opinion about smart contract auditioning? I'm actually not very into this Web3 pen testing, things like blockchain and things like that. So I believe I'm not the best person to answer your question. So let's remove the envelopes here from the results. So our results kinda got small, but still have some. So proxy appears to be does not even exist. Proxy. Probably got in on repository. It appears to be a gold library. Sorry, let's remove this. Have collector sub.app. Just have charts emoji. headers of this response. If you don't know, if you're testing something in the terminal, some requests, if you put this dash y lowercase here, we'll get not only the response, but all the response headers either. We can look into what's going on behind the scenes. In this case, nothing interesting is going on, appears. Just X GitHub backend, saying that it's using Kubernetes. Please check out. Feedback. Oh, parsing the application. Snapshot the multiple. Oh, it was in see how it was in 2014. Sometimes it's good to check for these Wayback URLs here, Web Archive, because maybe this page had some kind of content before, and maybe this content still exists, but it's just hidden. Broken links, web APIs, something like that. But this especially domain appears to be the same thing since 2014. Not very much. Maybe in real pen test, what you can do is to try to fuzz for directories here. Take a look if you find something interesting. There is a tool called Gal either. Get our URLs. It works like a crawler. It starts looking for mentions of these URLs in places and check if this URLs still exist nowadays. Scenario, we found many things actually. API.js still exists. Still exists. That's nice. Multiple. Let me all here and test show other two. Let's use URL here. Don't know the name of this tool. But this tool basically gets the it basically removes the trash from this, or the results of things like that from multiple URLs. For example, example.com page PHP ID equals 1 is the same page of this other before, just the ID that's different. So it simplifies our list. It helps us to get to take a better look into the results of what we're testing. Yeah. In my daily bug bounty programs, I like to go to the main application, the main app. But sometimes, especially on big apps like this, on big companies like this that has a massive scope, I think it's also good to take a look into the much in the other applications, not just in the main app. Places like github.com will have a base scenario, a great scenario for you to test, but also will be well secured multiple in many times. You will have a hard time finding vulnerabilities. And sometimes when you look into these smaller applications, maybe you can find some third-party apps that was not developed by the GitHub team, for example, that will have a really a small security, a less attention security that we can find better bounds here, better vulnerabilities. But I agree with you. It's good to take a look into the main application in almost all times. especially mobile apps. Mobile apps is a thing that users tend, that the hackers tend to ignore. But mobile apps is a good place, especially if you like to test backends, server side vulnerabilities, check for things like ADAR, access control. Mobile apps has a great attack scenario for this kind of. That's nice. That's nice. Me either. I think most of my bounties was in main applications, but some of my bounties, uh, the most easy ones actually was in this secondary applications. Most easy. I feel like the most hardest bounce, obviously the bounce that pay most was in the main application because the impact in these things is way better than the impact in a secondary application. And for the sake of this example here in this live stream, I cannot actually go further into testing like I will do in our pen test, like opening github.com, opening Burp Suite, taking a look into vulnerabilities, testing the endpoints. I can do it right now at the moment, but it's a valid point. This go is taking a while. I think it's not worth it. Waiting for everything. But for the examples here that we got, let's take a look into this archive program here. There should be hey, this live will be recorded and posted into my channel. It will be available for everyone that wants to see this after we finish it here. So feel free to watch it later. Yeah. Yeah, there's something here. You can tell that it's something here because the page returns some different responses. I take a look into my network tab here. Let's see what's actually the response of this request. It appears to be a maybe collector. I understood now. It seems like this is a application that collects logs, collects user data. Appears that it's collecting like the page that happened some problem, or the page that the user clicked something, the user agent, the resolution, things for like the dev, for the company to have some insights later. This is a place that I personally would like to test for a blind cross-site script here, because if this data is being saved, it probably be showing somewhere, and most probably either to be showing in some kind of admin dashboards that some people that has some privileged access will take a look into the result of these logs here. So maybe it's a good place to test for these kind of things. Okay. Let me check the result. As you can see, now we have a list of the results. But appears that most are the same pages. Collect. And this page does not exist. Page does not. Page does not exist. It appears that it found many results, but most results that's not working, or it's not working anymore, or needs some kind of extra exploitation, extra verbs or something like that. But this is actually a thing I like to do either. is to take a look into Gal, take a look into possible paths that exist in the application. Another thing that I already said that you can try is to brute force for directories here to take a look if you find some exploitable parameters. The idea of the recon is to you to find more leads, more places for you to hack on. So if you did a great recon, you will have more targets to look, more things to help you in your hacking day to day. Let's go back here to our subfinder results. As you can see, I showed that using Google Darken you can also find some places, but let me take a look here. Oh, let me take a look here into this subfinder result. Multiple count how many? Oh, 11,000 subdomains. That's huge. That's really huge. I think that probably most of these domains does not work. You can take a look. Let me take a look here. Let's do a basic HTTP probe. I like to use HTTPX for HTTP, and actually with all these parameters that my autocomplete is doing here. I don't like to take a look into multiple things like screenshots, complete body of the response. I keep it into the basics here. I'm not a big recon guy. I like to just take a look and find places that I can hack. So I usually look into status code, title, content length, body preview, and save it in a file result here. httpx.txt. Start. Yeah. Many here is getting us some errors. Certificate errors. Specialized errors. Yeah, I believe the most of this GitHub user content here will be specialized errors. But let's wait for it to run. It will probably take a while, as we saw it's 11,000 subdomains. On the targets. Another place that I personally would like to take a look was this third-party clients here. As I said, GitHub Mobile would be a great place to look into because most of the people that are testing on GitHub will not take a look into this GitHub Mobile. And I myself take a look. I myself run this GitHub Mobile before on my phone. I know that it's using some GraphQL API different from the main domain here, but it's a good place to look. You have a different attack scenario from the people that is just testing this application, and it affects the same place the impact happens. You are impacting the main application anyway, even though if you are testing the mobile application here, because they share the same database. So, for example, if you in the mobile application find a way that you can see private repos from the user, you if sorry if you find a way to get some private repos from the user here, you will be achieving an impact on the main application. Hey Robin, how are you doing? In this live stream, I didn't found anything yet. Just as we said, we're just looking for leads here. We're just doing some reconnaissance. But you can check out my hacker run profile here, and we'll see that I have a multiple vulnerabilities found there. Here's my profile. If you want to take a look in the chat. So another place that I would personally take a look into was the GitHub desktop. Also another place that people will not test at all. GitHub desktop is a application that I actually use it in my day-to-day. You can see it's already installed here, my GitHub desktop. I will not run here because it will open some information from the component that I work on, but it's a great place. I believe it's the same here that GitHub Desktop is a open source Electron based app. So if it's Electron based, means that Electron is a framework for JavaScript that people can develop desktop applications using web application frameworks. So basically what happens when a person creates a Electron app, the app that is running, it's actually running in a browser, but we say that it's a native browser. It's a version of Chromium, the same version that Chrome is developing into, that it runs in a headless way. So you don't see it's a browser, but it's actually a browser running there. Let me actually open here and pray that's not opening some. Oh, it's opening in the other page here. Great. Okay. Not any sensitive infos here for you to take a look. So this is what is a Electron application. It appears to be a native application, a app that is running in my desktop, but it's actually running a browser. If I click here on, I believe it's view, alright, view, toggle developer tools, as you can see, we can see here the same developer tools that happens when you open the developer tools in your Chrome. It's the same thing. And here you can test the same way that you test some applications. You can take a look into what requests are being handled here. You can take a look into, for example, JavaScript files here. I just saw here also that this application has the source map enabled here, but and if it has the source map enabled, you can see the unminified code here, as I said. And check some, look for example, /API, and look for API requests here that you can understand how it works, understand how you can test in it. So it's a good place. And I believe GitHub Desktop will be a huge renegated place that people want to look into while they're testing for GitHub. Nice to meet you, Robin. People forget the business logic bug. Yeah, I have a video actually scheduled for recording that says something exactly actually says exactly the same thing that you're saying. I believe people in bug bounty are really focusing on testing some using some automatic tests, running tools, running locally, SQL map, things like that, that they forget to take a look into things that really pays the bounty, like access control vulnerabilities, business logic errors, and that's are almost 10 times the vulnerabilities that pay the most. Things like you understand the business you're testing and understand how you can attack, and understand what will hurt the component that you're testing. So I agree with you. Hey, Durga Stepra. I said it right? I'm a beginner. Can you help me out, please? Yes. I'm I'm posting many videos. Actually, there's sometimes that there's some days that I'm not posting videos, but I'm scheduling to return my content creations. But you can take a look into my channel. There is multiple videos teaching beginners, teaching people that has a high level also either. So you can take a look into there. And I believe that this live stream will be more recurrent. I'm planning to do it every week or two, something like that. But it depends on how this one is going. But I'm liking the result at the moment. Okay, GitHub desktop is a good. I saw it here that is a open source, so also you can take a look at code probably. Let me take a look. GitHub desktop. GitHub. And so GitHub desktop is actually open source, so you can not only read the codes in the source maps as I showed, but you can also see it here, the actual code, the configurations file, everything here that you saw there. You can also check it here. So a good place to take a look. Okay. So continuing, my HTTPX running gives me many results. Now we need to start filtering it. So the first thing I want to filter is obvious. Move the flash fly error here. You don't know if you use this grep -v here. You remove the results different from the grep without the -v. If you use it without the -v, you get the results that has this string that you're asking. In my scenario, I want to remove every flash light error. Also, let's take a look into the 403. Let's take a look into things that is saying that our access is denied, that we're forbidden to access this. So, a cloud GitHub user content. There should be a S3 bucket here or a object bucket. Nothing interesting for us here. Xadmin bot.github. This is a place that worth taking a look, maybe, because it's saying that's a admin application. I go here into my spec. Let's look into what is doing this page. Nothing at all. Let me see. XM registration. So there is a admin page and there is a registration page. Let me take a look. Google again, site GitHub. And let's see for XM admin. There should be a plugin that maybe GitHub is using. GitHub user content again. It appears to be it appears to be a S3 bucket. Package user content. I don't think GitHub user content is worth taking. It appears that mostly will be Fastify. That's basically is a object storage like S3 buckets or Cloudflare 3. Don't think. So places that use a ESS. saw earlier that I was using Octa. For one. Half. For 301. Director they I'm searching for interesting places for us to focus on our hunting. So I'm not finding anything good at the moment here. But this is the what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find interesting place for us to hunt. nines.github.app.com sign into nines app. It's a post to the Alpha GitHub. What happens when I log in? It redirects me to a page single access. Interesting. Very interesting. Also that there is a 9 staging. Also no access. This is a place that may be worth executing a YFF. Check if we find something Recon. Suppose that when I access nines.github.com, it redirects me to this slash incidents here. I can prove that it's happening by dash that I showed before, and it's responding me with this location nines.github.com slash. What happens if I put test here? Remove the test. Or put a also. What if I can some admin? The same page is shown. Is that everything slash returns the same page, the same login page. What happens if I execute a F? Everything's their status code, obviously, because everything that I put here returns the same. Yeah, automatically. Let's check. Anything goes on. Oh, VPN. Also good. Okay. Nothing at all there. This one. Hey. Okay, response. If this was here, does not appear that will return. Let me remove the instance. Now it will be errors. This doesn't. Uh, what can I test? Robots. Maybe it has some content. But the file exists. Sitemap. Now either. Oh, logout function. So this is why we need to fuss when we're testing this kind of weird applications. Because sometimes we discover new functionality. Now I discovered the logout functionality. I can test what is going on with it. It's like a functionality that's not mentioned in any places, but you can discover that and try to, and with this discover, you can maybe find some vulnerabilities. If I look into my logout, let's see what request is doing. Does the internal redirect here? The response headers. It's again returning to the logout. Then this other logout section. That's a cookie. Interesting. The 90 app section. And returns with our location header. No, no location header. So the redirection is being doing. These other here, it's almost every false positives here. The // eval.com is a false positive. This one is looking for query parameters, and so it's to the same page. Everything here is mostly false positive. Let me stop this first. Don't want to get banned. But great places, great places. Covered another functionality of a hidden functionality in this application. Maybe this one. Staging. What happens when I open this and click on signing? Okay. Let's continue for X. I heard for 200 response. Debug. Probably the internal domain here. Internal sub desktops. We saw this page before. The thing that I like to add the titles and the body preview here in my HTTPX response is that I can better understand what this application do before I open the URL. This way, I discover the places that I want to check, not only and not goes like random open targets. So we can have a look. IDC configuration, audit log functional. What's the response of this test? Nothing here. And nothing on the other here. GitHub webhooks. Another application that just returns a OK. Let me take an example. Let me see if there's something that it's interesting by the title here. So yeah, api.github. It's a API, not what I'm looking for at the moment. API security.github.io, what I'm looking. Archive program, preserving open source for future generations. Maybe another interesting application, but probably just a landing page. Yeah, just a landing page. Let it here. azul.github.com. Classroom webhooks staging. This was the application before. Classroom. Okay. Collector internal. We found this application here before. Collector new appears to be the same application as the collector internal that we before. Copilot telemetry. Welcome to Copilot internal. Send those data. Yeah. On the 200 no applications gets my attention. Launch editor assets. Welcome. Thank you. Not modified. Okay. The welcome message. So it's telling me some kind of version here. That one varnish. The open source Portuguese, but varnish cache. No, it's a cache response. Yeah. With this kind of things like software versioning, I believe everyone knows, but we can always take a look into the exploit database and take a look if this version will be vulnerable in some way. I take a look into the 1.1 varnish here. That's where the processing goes. Maybe we can find some places that is vulnerable to some kind of exploits that was previously exist. This is kind improbable in an application like GitHub and a company like GitHub. This will most happen in small applications, small companies that does not have some kind of security research or something like that. Companies that already started in bug bounty, they have a really great maturity in terms of security. Things like that will probably does not exist, but don't hurt to take a look. But as I said, no matching requires for this software version. Okay. And another thing that I like to do into my pen test is to take a look into it should use this other tool called hosts. Host give me the information about the DNS, the route that is being doing between my request and the server that I'm requesting. So for example, I can get my subfinder results here and add the xargs, exactly this command, xlargs dash I, open and close brackets, host, and open and close brackets again. What this will do is to start taking a look into the hosts of each subdomain I'm having here. So many places it will give me the IP address of the target that I'm testing. Sometimes it will give me this NX domain or server fail. When it gives server fail, it's indicative that the application may be vulnerable to the subdomain takeover, but it's not a confirmation. But maybe it's worth taking a look if this application is vulnerable to a subdomain takeover. But what I like to do while doing these things is to understand how the company nominates their applications, how it's being nominated in internal services, internal repositories, for example. Let me see if some appears here, if some kind of things that I'm talking about appears here with GitHub, so I can show you. Education.github, it's pointing, it's an alias for this other URL here. This is strange, but okay. It appears to be a Kubernetes cluster. If I would have to say, it would probably be a Kubernetes cluster. So with this, I can imagine that GitHub is using a Kubernetes to host their applications. Let me confirm if it appears here somewhere. The fact that it's a Kubernetes, but no appearing. Because if this education.github.com is pointing to it, it reminds me of a Kubernetes cluster here with this hash on the application. But it's good to know things like that, to understand how the infrastructure of the company works. Azure websites. Interesting. Oh, our origin is an alias from redirect.github, and this redirect of redirection. Again, this kind of hash here on the alias. So this is what I like to do while running the rows command. It's to understand and take a look if this how the application, how the company is naming things behind the scenes. Maybe it can help us to discover new things, discover new potential new leads, and do a better brute force when it needs to, like a directory brute force, because we have more information, so we can create a better word list. Doesn't appear that will appear first. Yeah. So Azure services, local host, classroom. So yes. In summary, what I would really focus on GitHub is to first taking a look, as I said, into these weird domains that appear to be some kind of less security applications running back then. I would not focus all my efforts into taking a look into this kind of applications. As I said, this is good applications to test. Take a look for anything interesting, like a logging dashboard, or some information that does not is using any kind of authentication and things like that. But after that, I will take a look into the mobile application, and after the mobile application, I will take a look into the GitHub desktop application. I showed it appears to be some very good things to take a look here, and I believe this is an application that it's not tested that much against hackers. And finally, I would take a look into the main application. The main application is it's github.com. The application that has multiple features to test on, and it's also good to test. The most used features will not be my main focus in the start. I'll try first to understand the business, understand how the application handles things. For example, what happens when I click on repositories, what kind of endpoints is running, what information is returning, what is supposed to be sensitive, what is supposed to be not. And that's it. My time is running out. That was my first test live stream. Let me change my camera. Let me know if you liked this kind of interaction. I'm planning to do more live streams like that. This was most of a test live stream, but my intention is to do it every week or every 2 weeks, something like that. If you like if you like the content and you don't know me, my name is Marco. I'm a senior software engineer and a cybersecurity enthusiast. I create content here on YouTube, trying to help new hackers and also experienced hackers to learn new things in a software engineer perspective. And I believe that's it. My next lives, my next screens, I'll be separating my time for executing. And see you there.